Anyways, today we have our 45-minute yoga practice. So I've got a couple blocks up here if you want to. If you're joining from home or on Zoom, feel free to use books or pillows or anything that you'd like. We're going to start with some beginning meditation and breathing. So you can go ahead and find some comfortable space. All you need is your body. You can lay down, you can stay seated, whatever works for you and feels good. And then if you're joining on Zoom, feel free to listen to anything that you'd like. Or you can stay in silence, that works too. Your body and your breath, just noticing how you're feeling today. Maybe starting with that full body scan from your feet all the way to the crown of your head. If you'll just take off your shoes before getting on your mat, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Starting to tune into your breath, maybe noticing your breath today. Maybe setting your intention for today's practice. As you start to become aware of your breath, maybe shifting your focus to that diaphragmatic breath, that deep three-part breath as we inhale deep from the belly, moving the breath up into the chest, and exhale from the chest back down to the belly. Thinking about slowing down our breath today, inflating our belly like a balloon as big as we can. Exhaling, feeling that core contraction. Breathing in and out of the nose if that feels good for us today. I know we're approaching allergy season. And feeling free to close our eyes if we'd like. Sometimes that helps us to shift our focus inward. With each breath that we take today, I want you to really think about breathing into your heart center. We call this our anahata, which is that portion of our heart chakra. Maybe as you inhale, thinking about inhaling words like inhaling hope, peace, joy, gratitude, grace, whatever it might be that you're needing today, that your heart might be needing today. That's what we're going to focus on throughout our practice. Letting go of any expectations, letting go of any judgment of ourselves and others, and letting go of any competition. Simply focusing on how our body's feeling in this present moment today, right here and now. And always remembering that we're in control of our practice and we have the power to choose what feels best for our bodies today. When we're ready, we can bring our hands down by our sides, either in our seated position or laying on our backs. As we inhale, we'll reach our arms up and overhead with our breath lengthening through our spine. And as we exhale, hands come back down by the sides. Just making those circles around our bodies, or arms can come straight up and over, whatever feels best. Just noticing how the back, the shoulders, the spine are feeling today, feeling that length in the body. Take 2 more rounds of breath here, maybe getting just used to how it feels moving our arms with our breath. And then on our last exhale here, we'll bring our knees into our chests. We can rock side to side, grabbing underneath our knees. As we're ready, we'll slowly drop the knees over to one side, using our arms to press ourselves up, coming up into a seated position. I promise we'll have time at the end of class for some more supine stretching. Coming into that seated position, we can sit crisscross or legs extended, knees bent, whatever feels good for us. We'll inhale, reach our arms up to the sky to lengthen the spine. Exhale, right hand down, left arm up and over. It's just a nice side body stretch. Inhaling as we come back to center, exhaling, left hand down. And starting to just take this at our own pace. Inhaling to lift and exhaling side bend. As we feel the side bend, thinking about pressing our sit bones into our mats. So both the hips stay down. We can sit on a block if we choose, especially if our hip flexors might be feeling tight today. And just taking this as deep as we want to, being gentle with our bodies. Once we start to get comfortable with this side bend, we'll start to take it to a little twist. Gentle twist over the shoulder. We inhale to think, lengthen the spine, come back to center. Exhale to twist. So once again, starting to match your own breath patterns. Inhale to lift, exhale to twist. There's no rush or timing in yoga. We can start to move at our own pace, enjoying that freedom and that control over our practice. Finding what feels good for us in our twists today. We'll take one more on each side. Let's inhale, come back to center, lift our arms to the sky. As we exhale, hands come behind us. I like to make fists, press my fists down behind my sit bones, roll the shoulders back, lift your heart to the sky. Think about lengthening through your neck here, so we're not dropping our head back, keeping a little space between the chin and chest, but pressing those shoulder blades back and down away from the ears. As we inhale, we come back to center. As we exhale, we find a seated forward fold. So maybe hands come out in front of us, reaching only as far as it feels good for us today. We'll inhale, come back to center, lifting the arms tall. Exhale again, lift and open through the chest, open through the heart. Noticing how your heart's feeling with this open pose today. One more time, inhale, come back to center. Exhale, find your seated forward fold. Slowly walking ourselves back up to a seated position. I'm going to turn sideways on my mat. If you want to, you can do the same. I'll face the front to show the folks on Zoom as well, but it sometimes helps to turn sideways on the mat so that we have a little space to drop our knees side to side. We're going to come into what's called a Z-sit position. So you have one knee bent one way and the other knee bent the other way. From the front, it looks like this. Yeah, awesome. If you want to, you can sit up tall. I like to sit back onto my arms here. Just feeling that nice little release in the hip flexors and the inner and outer thighs, maybe noticing how that feels for us today. And then as we're ready, we can lift our knees, walk our feet over and shift to the other side. Just taking this at your own pace, side to side. Noticing how the hips are feeling, how the back's feeling, the spine, the quads, the lower leg, the upper leg. It's just a nice little position that we can come into to evaluate specifically internal and external rotation in our hips. We can also sit up tall here, maybe turn towards one leg. And then as we walk the legs over to the other side, we can turn towards that opposite leg. Playing around with this at your own pace. And then as you're ready, we'll slowly make our way back to center. Facing the front on our mats, we'll come into all fours, hands and knees. So the hands come underneath our shoulders, knees underneath our hips, making sure we have a little space between the knees. Nice neutral spine here. That means I gaze down from the head to the tailbone. We find our neutral spine. Starting with our cat and cow, we start with our hips. So hips lift, belly relaxes, heart lifts, chest lifts, shoulders roll back, and then maybe the head. Exhale, start with the head, chin to chest, round through the spine into your cat. And we can start to move through this cat and cow. Inhale, relax through the belly. Exhale, round through the spine. Moving at your own pace with your breath, noticing how your cat and cow is feeling today. We always have the option of maybe some tail wags. That means just shifting our hips side to side. We can make circles with our hips, moving through that cat and cow in the lumbar spine, the low back. One of the best things we can do for our spine is move through this full movement, this full range of motion in our cat and cow. Especially if we're ever dealing with any low back pain, cat and cow can be a really, really great option. Coming back to all fours when we're ready, finding that nice neutral spine, moving into a little more core balance. Inhaling, we'll reach our left hand out in front of us and we lengthen our right leg behind us. It's called bird dog. Now I always say press the opposite hand into the mat because you're going to need that to stabilize through the pelvis. We exhale to release and switch. Inhale, right arm, left leg, toes down, heel of the foot presses back behind us. Exhale, release. Starting to move from side to side at your own pace. You can add on a little lateral movement if you'd like. In this pose, really thinking about that lengthening of our spine from the fingers to the toes. We activate the glute by pushing through the heel of the foot. And our arm and leg are shoulder hip height. So leg is long, arm is long. And it helps with that stability, again, to push into the opposite hand and knee. When we do that, we stabilize our deep core muscles, our pelvic floor as well, helping us with that lumbopelvic stability. So where our back attaches to the pelvis. We'll take one more round on each side. And then coming back to our all fours. Excellent. From here, we're taking our knees to the long edges of our mat. We sit hips towards the top, so the heels finding child's pose. Remembering we can take our child's pose as wide as we want. Head can come to the floor. We can also find a block in any position to rest our head on. If we'd like, we can stretch our arms out in front of us. Maybe noticing how the hips are feeling in this position, how this deep spinal flexion feels for us, relaxing into it here, deepening our breath, slowing down our breath once again. Child's pose is a great option for a rest pose, and we can come into this at any time in our practice or any other rest pose that might feel good for us today. From our child's pose, if we haven't yet, let's walk our hands out in front of us. Even if we want to keep our head on the block, actually, we can walk the arms out in front. As we exhale, we'll walk our hands over to the right side of our mat. Maybe reaching a little further with the left arm, feeling that upper back stretch, release through the shoulders. As we inhale, we come back to center. And then exhale over to the other side, the left. Inhale, coming back to center. Exhaling into your child's pose, breathe. Excellent. From here, as we inhale, let's shift to find our plank on our knees. So core is active, knees in line with hips. So narrow position, hips come forward, core is active again here. So we're not relaxing the belly down or dumping into our shoulders. We're pressing actively into our palms. As we exhale, we can come down into that little yoga push-up, elbows right by the sides. Inhale, press back up to plank. Exhale, sit back to find your child's pose. Inhale, we come forward. We're prepping for that half series. Exhale, we can come halfway down or all the way down. Inhale, we press back up. Exhale, child's pose. Option 3, inhaling, coming forward. Exhaling all the way down if we'd like. Inhaling, we keep the feet on the mat, but lift the head, neck, shoulders. Maybe the hands just lift. Squeezing through our back. So feet stay down on the mat. It helps if the tops of the feet are down. Yep. And then exhale, press into the palms, child's pose. That is our half series. We can move through this at our own pace. Inhaling, coming forward. Exhaling, chaturanga. Inhale, baby cobra or back to plank, either option. Exhale, child's pose. Hopefully by now everybody knows that I'm not doing cobra because I got baby in my belly, but there might be some new folks on Zoom. Just moving through this one more time at your own pace. And then meeting back in child's pose. You can stay in child's pose, or if you're wanting to explore downward facing dog, tucking your toes, lifting your hips to the sky, maybe walking your dog, bending knees right and left. From your child's or your down dog, look to the top of your mat and walk your feet there. Step up to the top of your mat, finding a forward fold. Hands on the block if we'd like. Feet can be wider than the hips or hip distance. Softening through the knees though in our forward fold here. We can let the head hang, maybe shake the head yes and no. We can find ragdoll if that feels good for us today. Releasing our hands to the shins, block, thighs, floor. Inhale, we lift up to find a flat back or monkey pose, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, soften the knees, forward fold. So remember in a forward fold that the goal is not to lock the knees and come into this position. We want to soften the knees so then our hands can come lower. Bend the knees as much as it feels good for us. That's going to take some tension out of the hamstrings and the low back. Inhale, lift up, lengthen the spine one more time. Exhale, soften and fold. From here, inhale, reverse swan dive. Lift the arms to the sky if it feels good for extended mountain. Exhale, we sit back to chair pose. So weights in the heels, knees in line with toes. It's a squat. Little baby squat. We're sitting the weight back. We're not letting those knees shift forward. So we should be able to wiggle our toes in our chair. Weight shifts into the heels. Inhale one more time, lift and lengthen. Exhale, sit back to find chair. Excellent. Moving through our full sun salutations. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, lift up to lengthen halfway. Exhale, soften and fold. Stepping back to find your plank position as we inhale. Exhaling, optional chaturangas, knees, toes, whatever feels good. Inhale, full cobra or plank. Exhale, child's pose or down dog. Stepping to the top of our mats as we inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, chair. Option to reach the arms out. Inhale, let's lift. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold, soften. Inhale as we find our plank. Exhale, chaturanga option. Inhale, full cobra or plank. In our full cobra, remember the shoulder blades squeeze back. Exhale, child's pose or down dog. Inhale as we step, lunge, walk to the top of the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, chair. Moving through that 2 more times at your own pace. Feeling free to add on anything or eliminate anything that doesn't serve you today. Building heat in the body is what we are doing with our sun salutations. Getting ready for our standing strength poses to come and our stretching. Rounding out our sun salutations whenever we're ready, no rush. Finishing out wherever we are, our round. And then we'll just meet back in our child's pose or our down dog. Maybe grabbing a sip of water if we want to. Awesome. From our child's pose or our down dog, we're going to find 3-legged dog, or we can find 3-legged quadruped. So the right leg will lift to the sky, left knee can be down, or left knee can be lifted, either option. As we inhale, or as we exhale, let's pull the knee forward and through, finding that low lunge position. Framing our foot with our hands if we'd like. I like to use 2 blocks for that. It feels nice sometimes. Bringing the ground up to meet us where we are. Maybe just noticing how the hips feeling. We're taking our left hand to the inside of the right foot, or on the block on the inside of the right foot. As we exhale, we find a twist. So we're looking over the right shoulder, the right thigh. And if we want to, we can reach the arm up to the sky, stacking the shoulders. We can also tuck the toe and lift the back knee. That's also an option. Whichever one of those feels best for us today. Taking one more big inhale. As we exhale, releasing our right hand to the mat. Lifting up and finding our balance as we move into our high lunge. So the knee lifts, but both knees are bent. Hands can come to heart center, or we can reach the arms up to the sky. Excellent. From here, we're stepping the left foot in to find a warrior 1. So right knee is bent from the side. The back foot is on an angle. Pressing down through the heel of that left foot. And hands can also always come back to heart center. Feeling a little calf stretch, a little hamstring stretch. As we inhale, let's lift and lengthen the right leg, so arms can always reach to the sky. As we exhale, we bend that knee, sinking down a little bit more. And then slowly we hinge from the hips, keeping the legs where they are. Arms sweep back behind us, humble warrior. Arms can also always stay at heart center. We find some heat, maybe strength in the front leg, and a nice stretch maybe in the back lower leg. Finding our breath here. Keeping the spine long, the shoulder blades are squeezing back, the core is engaged. Taking one more big inhale, let's reach the arms out in front of us. As we take a little step forward with our left leg, We're hinging even deeper at the hips, pressing the hips back to lengthen the right leg, walking the hands down the right leg for our pyramid pose. I like to find my block here, always an option. Check your right knee, make sure that it's not fully locked out, it's soft. It's a very small difference, but if you were to look at my knee, in this position, it would be soft. That would mean locked out. We want to keep it nice and soft. Still feeling a stretch in the hamstring. We can always adjust by bringing the feet closer, shifting the hips back, relaxing through the head, the jaw, finding this nice stretch. Taking one more inhale here. As we exhale, we're shifting weight into the right leg. So we're gonna wanna bend our right knee. We lift the left leg up to the sky for our standing splits. Does not have to be a big lift. Can be a small lift. If we want to, we can stay in our standing split. So if we want to explore our balancing half moon, the first thing we do is lift the left leg, rotate the hips, externally rotate. That means that our toes, foot flexed, open to the left side, the other side, right? Then we can lift our right arm, our left arm, excuse me, up to the sky, maybe shift our gaze. So it's really about the external rotation in that hip, finding our balance here. We can always come back to square hips for our standing splits. Core is engaged. It's like a hip airplane, a similar version. One more deep inhale here. As we exhale, coming back to standing split. So hips rotate back to center. We look to the back of our mat, step back to find our lunge. And then the right foot meets the left, down dog or child's pose. We have the option to move through our half series, or we can hang out in child's pose, down dog, reset the hips, take a few breaths. As we're ready, coming back to our child's pose or down dog, we find our three-legged dog as we inhale, or three-legged quadruped. Exhale, pull the knee forward and through, finding that low lunge. Other side. Maybe checking in on how the hips are feeling. Knees in line with toes. So look at your knee. If we notice that this is happening and the knees going way over the toes, we can just walk the foot forward, tiny steps. Right hand's on the inside of that left foot. As we exhale, we twist, looking over the left shoulder. Hand on the thigh, or option to reach it up to the sky. Option to tuck the toes, lift the right knee. Whatever feels good, finding our breath in this pose. Taking one more big inhale. As we exhale, coming back to center. Finding our low lunge, hips are square. We find our balance by lifting through the right knee. Maybe stepping the feet in a little bit, coming up to our high lunge. Both knees are soft and our back heel is lifted. So notice the difference. Yeah, high lunge, the toes are active in the back foot. Hip bones square. Arms can also be reaching up to the sky. From here, we step the right foot in to find our warrior one stance. It's just a really small step in. And the back foot might be on an angle a little bit. We can always walk the feet wider if that feels good. Inhale, lengthen the right or left leg. Exhale, sink down. From here, hinging at the hips. Arms long, spine long. As we exhale, arms sweep back behind us. Humble warrior. Squeezing into the shoulder blades. Finding our breath here. Finding length in our spine. Pressing into that right heel. From here, we inhale, arms sweep forward. As we exhale, straightening our left leg, keeping the soft bend, we can step the right foot in a little bit. Hinging even more at the hips, we walk the hands down the left leg, pyramid pose. Remember, the blocks are awesome, or pillows or books, to bring the ground up to meet you where you are. So it's not always the goal to touch the floor, but to feel the best in the pose in that moment, right? Listening to our bodies, just like we talked about at the beginning of our practice. Keeping a soft knee bend in the left leg. On our next inhale, let's soften the right leg, shift our weight forward into maybe our block or the floor, lifting the right leg, coming up to our standing splits. Core is engaged, breath is strong here in the belly. We can stay here or find that balancing half moon. So I like to flex through my right foot, lift the right hip. That requires that glute strength, external rotation. And then we can rotate the whole body. So the shoulders, also the chest and hips are facing the right side. Left hand maybe on the floor of the block. It helps to squeeze the top glute. So that's where that glute squeeze and the external rotation is the hip rotates. Finding our balancing half moon, finding our breath. Coming back to our standing splits at any time, or our pyramid pose for that matter. One more big inhale. As we exhale, we move back to standing split and then look to the back of our mat. Step back, a long step, right? And then coming into child's pose, down dog, option to move through our last half series here before we move into our deeper stretches. Finding our breath. Fantastic. As we're ready, let's all move into our child's pose, lowering our hands, our head, our chest towards the mat, resetting our hips. And then we're slowly lifting ourselves up, lifting our chest, lifting our head. I really like to use a block in this next pose that we're going to do. So if you don't have one, a pillow or a book is also great. We're going to come up onto our knees. We're moving into camel pose. We haven't done that in this class in a while, but you can flex your feet if that feels better so that your toes are on the mat versus the tops of your feet. I like to do that. So what I mean is this versus that. Yeah, whatever feels best for you. But I like to take the block in between the inner thighs. Helps activate as we squeeze on the block, inner thigh muscles, adductors, and our pelvic floor. From here, we're inhaling, lifting our arms up to the sky, lengthen. Make a fist with the right hand, place it on your low back, right around where the SI joint is. Then left hand comes down to the low back. We squeeze onto that block, engage our core, roll the shoulders back, lift our heart to the sky for our camel. Opening through our heart center. Only going as deep as we want to today. If we'd like and it feels good, we can always reach back, grab onto our heel of our foot if we want to go deeper into this pose. Being mindful though, making sure we're bracing the core, squeezing the glutes. Taking one more big inhale. As we exhale, slowly coming up, releasing out of this pose, we take the block out, and then we find our child's pose is a deep counter stretch to all of that extension in the spine, bringing the chest into down towards our mat in that forward fold. Taking a few deep breaths here. As we're ready, we'll slowly walk ourselves up. We're shifting around to come onto our backs. We can slowly lower ourselves down onto the mat using our leg as a break, whatever feels good. Or slowly lowering down onto your forearms. From here, let's bring our knees into our chest. Grab our hamstrings. We can rock side to side. Knees can be open or together. Let's take our right foot to the floor. Lengthen the left leg up to the sky. Find that nice hamstring stretch. Grabbing above or below the knee, we can point and flex the foot. Holding your left foot flexed, we're taking it and crossing it over the right thigh for a figure four. Supine pigeon is our yoga pose term. We can stay right here, or if it feels good, we can bring the right knee into the chest. You can take little rocks side to side. You can also keep the right foot down and still take little rocks side to side as well. From here, our next option, we can keep this left leg across, hands come out to a T-pose. And we slowly lower the knees over to that right side. This is gonna deepen this twist and this stretch for the glute, specifically the piriformis, even more. So anytime it feels uncomfortable, we can simply uncross the left leg, and it's just our supine twist. As you're ready, we'll slowly walk our feet back to the mat, walk them back to center. Left foot comes down onto the mat near our hips, and we lengthen our right leg up to the sky, finding that hamstring stretch, pointing and flexing through the foot, rolling out the ankle. That feels good. From here, we'll hold the foot flexed on the right. We cross it over the left, above the knee, keeping the foot flexed, staying right here, or option to reach through to grab our left thigh. And then once again, we can also slowly rock the hips side to side in this pose in either position. As we're ready, finding that little bit of stillness here in our supine pigeon, arms come out to the sides. We slowly let the knees fall over to the left side this time, keeping the shoulders on the mat wherever we are. Once again, if this leg cross feels like too much, we can simply uncross it. And we always have the option to let our knees fall onto a block or a pillow, just letting them rest all the way down onto something in our supine twist. Maybe starting to slow down our breathing, deepening each inhale and exhale. When we're ready, we'll slowly walk our knees back to center. We can bring our knees into our chest one last time if we'd like. We can also keep the feet on the mat, take that windshield wiper motion, taking any last and final poses that we'd like, or maybe that our body is wanting today. We're moving into our final relaxation. Remembering that we can take any pose for our final relaxation, any rest pose. So Shavasana, legs extended, knees bent, feet together, knees open. We can lay on our sides, on our bellies. We can use our blocks under our backs, our low back or upper back, whatever feels best for us today. Maybe closing our eyes, shifting our focus back to our breath. Using these last few minutes, or whatever it is that we need, these last few minutes, where we can be perfectly still, but also perfectly awake, not worried about what anybody else has to tell us to do or what we have to do. Taking and claiming this moment of rest for ourselves. Starting to wiggle our fingers and toes, just bringing that awareness back into our space. When we're ready, we can slowly bring our knees into our chest, rolling over onto our favorite side, using our arm as a pillow, helping us to just reset the blood pressure and the heart rate. And then as we're ready at our own pace, pressing ourselves up, moving back into a seated position. Any comfortable seated position is good. We'll sit up nice and tall, taking one last collective breath together. As we inhale, let's reach our arms overhead, lengthen through our spine. Exhale, bringing all of that love, gratitude, and energy into our heart center, into that Anahata. Light in me honors, sees, and observes the light in each and every one of you. So thank you for being here today. You'll have an awesome rest of your week, and I will see you next Monday.